Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our Envisioning Success with College and Career Readiness Tools for your students session with Texas OnCourse. Before we dive into these resources and tools, I'd like to share with you all of a little bit about our professional learning series that we launched this past August. This year, in addition to our monthly webinars, we're also introducing a coffee chat that some of you have already participated in. Our next coffee chat coming up will be on November 28th at 10 a.m. These are always held on the last Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. This session is an extension of our monthly webinar topic. So this month, focusing on the First Texas program as well as My Texas Future. This is a really good opportunity for you all to engage and collaborate with your colleagues in breakout rooms with a room leader. We encourage you to share your resources, discuss how you use these resources or how you will use these resources within your campus and your district. That being said, there's no prep needed except, just bringing your morning drink of choice, coffee or tea, water, that's okay too, juice. And then just wanted to give you guys a heads up on our December webinar. It's really hard to believe that this year is almost over and the semester is almost over. During this webinar, we will have an informal learning session planned with other educators who are working to improve college and career advising efforts across the state. So the session will also include breakout rooms that will focus on topics from our professional learning series so far this year. So everything that we've covered so far since August, we'll be discussing during this session. And if you haven't had a chance to look at our whole series, this is just capturing what we've done so far this year, but we'll also be dropping in the link to our full document for the spring as well. And just so you have a little bit of idea who's on the line, my name is Andrea Panter. I'm the Senior Network Coordinator here at Texas OnCourse. We are the Professional Learning and Engagement team. Work alongside with Lauren Guggen, our Director of Professional Learning and Engagement, as well as Lauren Disher, our Professional Learning Coordinator, and Jared Garza, our Network Coordinator. And Farsit is here with us this morning. She's the manager with My Texas Future. Do you mind introducing yourself briefly, Farsit?
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning. My name is Farsit Patrick. I'm the program manager for My Texas Future.
And we also have Suzanne this morning.
Hi, Suzanne Morales-Vale. I'm the Senior Director in the Division for Student Success at the Coordinating Board.
Thank you. We are so excited to have you both here with us this morning. I always like to just take a brief moment to introduce Texas OnCourse and share our mission, which is with Texas OnCourse, all Texas students, no matter where they come from or where they're headed, have a plan for success after high school. So all of these materials that we produce and all of the trainings that Texas OnCourse hosts, we always begin with this end in mind, that the work that we're doing is to help our students have a valuable plan after high school. The users of our tools include middle and high school counselors, advisors, teachers, administrators, and also community-based organizations that focus on post-secondary success. We also provide resources for our students and their families, and all of these resources are free and are continuously being updated. So a quick little agenda welcome, which we've gone through. And as I mentioned, Farsit will be going over My Texas Future, and Suzanne will be covering the Texas First Diploma program. And then we will have a resource spotlight from Lauren with our student modules. We will also have time for Q&A at the end, but you can definitely also still continue to drop those questions within the chat or the Q&A section, and we will get to those at the end of the session. Before we kick it off with My Texas Future, I'm curious, for those of you that are on the line, like, how much do you already know about My Texas Future? Do you feel like this is the first you've heard of My Texas Future? You're super excited to learn more. Maybe you're average, you've maybe created a login and have tried to navigate the website, or maybe you feel a little bit of experience, like you've used it a lot. It's a very new program, so I feel like a lot of us are going to be in the beginner average range. Lots of beginners. Great. Awesome. First I heard of it. So yeah, so this will be really great for Farsit to be able to dive into My Texas Future with you guys. Now I'll go ahead and kick it over to you, Farsit.
Thank you, Andrea. What is My Texas Future? It's a digital tool that seeks to propel Texans to re-engage with higher education. We envision an institutional advising network, and our vision is for My Texas Future to serve as a statewide solution that simplifies post-secondary planning for users. It's powered by rich tri-agency data. So we partnered with the Texas Education Agency, the Texas Workforce Commission. I borrow this analogy from our Assistant Commissioner, Laura Brennan, to think of the texas.gov website, where we think of all the services that are offered: renewing your driver's license, checking if you're registered to vote. That's what we envision at the agency for My Texas Future, a statewide resource for post-secondary planning and reshaping how Texans plan for and access higher education.
Farsit, are you still on?
I am. I was
Oh.
waiting for the next slide. My Texas Future is designed for all Texans. And so in winter of 2022, we had our initial launch to propel working age Texans to connect directly with institutions and re-enroll. Those adult learners, working age Texans, can include any displaced workers who may need to reskill or upskill, military personnel and veterans. We are trying to connect the dots for hard to reach populations for our working age Texans. In spring 2024, we do have individualized experiences coming up for My Texas Future, streamlining the planning and application process for secondary students. So that'll be our K-12 audience, and promoting efficient planning and credit application for transfer students as well. This is the landing page. We encourage all of our users to go to mytexasfuture.org to create an account. This is what you'll see when you either log in, if you already have been, but as many of you noticed or mentioned that you were beginners, then hopefully you would be able to create an account. Most of the time when you visit a website, you create an account and there is some pertinent information that we need, like your first name, last name, date of birth, and zip code. All of these things, again, specifically your zip code, is just going to help us in that learner profile setup, and also when you're searching in your exploration for post-secondary career and college planning. So what is the learner profile setup? It actually encompasses 3 sections or 3 steps. The first one is more about you. These questions kind of help us find the resources that match you and your interest. You're able to upload a photo, optional free text box to tell us about yourself, and again, put any identifying information. The second step is experience. Are you coming in as a student that already has some college credits, first time in college, re-engaging with education, also learning goals? Are you interested in finding out about more financial aid programs and resources to help pay for college? And are you interested in a specific program in the state of Texas at one of the various institutions on how to apply? What are their application deadlines? What are the requirements to become admitted? All of those 3 steps or sections encompass the learner profile setup. So when you have completed and you are able to skip and come back later, we do know that sometimes life happens and you're busy, but when you've completed the learner setup, the learner profile setup, this is the landing page that you would see. You're always able to go back and edit if anything changes as you're going through with your exploration and journey. But at the very top, you should see 3 cards: Career Explorer, Program Explorer, and Career Quiz. These are all going to be tools that will be able to help you find a career or a program path to reach your goals. You're able to favorite programs. We want to always encourage our users to, again, create those accounts so that you can go back and refer to any of the programs that you're looking at. These are from 2 different institutions within our state, the College of the Mainland and Coastal Bend College. So you're able to favorite those programs to kind of refer back to, and also look at those details that each of those programs offer. You're also able to favorite articles. So when you log in, you're going to see at the very bottom of the page, previously when it was scrolling, you'll see articles and you're able to favorite them. They will probably have a topic of interest for you. And again, if you don't have the time right then, you're able to favorite those and come back. But we're hoping that they're going to be informative tools and resources as you continue your college and career planning. So the first tool we'll talk about is the Career Quiz. The Career Quiz gives you personalized career ideas. Basically, you're going to see a screen with the cards, and you'll choose the activities that sound interesting to you, and we'll recommend career fields. We're estimating this won't take long, maybe about 5 minutes. You are able to take the career quiz as many times as you feel. You're able to save those career results so that you can continue searching what are those fields of interest. This would be great for someone that is currently working in a field and maybe they want to look at a totally different industry, area of work. For their interest level. So Career Quiz would be a great starting point for My Texas Future. This is an example of once you've completed the quiz, these would show your results. They put them or kind of categorize them in clusters. As you see, you're able to see all the careers in the field. On the top right, you see you are able to download your results, but you're also able, again, to retake those results as well. But you're able to search for those careers in that specific field. You're also able to favorite them again. That way you don't lose any of your results. So once you've completed Career Quiz, this is kind of like a journey. We would suggest or highly promote you looking at the next tool, Career Explorer. What is Career Explorer? It allows you to find and compare careers based on demand in your area, salary, required education, related skills. You're able to filter all of those results. And so say you're searching and you see a couple of career fields from your career quiz results. This is what you're going to come to for Career Explorer. You're able to filter the results by county. Let's say you're living in one county and you're moving to another county. You can utilize that new county to find out what careers are in demand. You'll see those badges on the cards. For instance, that first card that's displayed, commercial and industrial designers. We have badges like better pay and in demand. You can see those in demand careers that might interest you. We also have tooltips. So if you'll notice where medium wage, median salary, projected growth, if you're not really for sure what that means, how does that help you in your career search, hover over that tooltip and we'll give you the definition, the defining term for that. Another enhancement is you're able to filter more results. A lot of times the filters that we provide to make it more individualized, some users want to get even more kind of like defined results. And so you might be looking for preferred skills under that career field, or is there a required or recommended education for that specific career field? So you're able to filter more career results. And you're also able to compare careers. This is one of the tools and features that we really like to highlight in Career Explorer. So once you have identified those careers and areas of interest, you're able to compare up to 3 careers just to see how you would view them. Maybe you're viewing them on comparison with the recommended education, or maybe you're comparing them based on median salary. You're able to do those comparison tools within Career Explorer. The other resource tool that's very similar to Career Explorer, just a little different, is Program Explorer. You're able to get a snapshot of degree and certificate programs across Texas. It looks very similar to Career Explorer. We're actually going to be exploring those various institutions that offer those programs in that career field of interest for you. So again, you're able to filter those results. You're also going to see that badge recommended for you. Well, where did we get that? You can either get that from completing your learner profile. So any of the learning goals or experience that you put in your learner profile, you may have a program that is recommended for you, or also from your career quiz as well. Program Explorer also allows you to do additional filters as well. So again, if someone is looking for a specific desired salary after graduation, we have that helpful tooltip there as well. Which specific degree or certificate are you pursuing? Average tuition, average time to graduation, all of these filters can, again, make it a more individualized, customized experience while you're searching for those programs. And again, just like Career Explorer, Program Explorer, you're able to compare your results from various institutions. So you may be looking at the same career field, but you want to know, kind of like what's displayed here, the difference with what the program is offered at the College of the Mainland as opposed to how it's offered at the University of Houston, Victoria. So you're able to compare and contrast those programs of study. Last but not least, we talk about the ADVi chatbot integration. Many times when you view a website, there's a virtual chatbot that can actually provide you help if you have a question about what's displayed on the website. With our ADVi chatbot, users can ask questions anytime. ADVi is available 24/7. It's going to be those general post-secondary planning questions. Maybe you're wanting to know, when does the FAFSA, TASFA application open, because you're interested in those financial aid options. Maybe you want to know specifically, hey, I'm ready to apply to my specific institution. When does the application for Apply Texas open in the year that I'm interested in? So the ADVi chatbot can answer that. If there ever is a time that you input a question and the chatbot is unable to answer, we do have live advisors here at the coordinating board. Our advisors are able to jump into the conversation to clarify or expand on a reply, and they are available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you, Farsit. This is amazing. This is so exciting. If you guys have any questions, I've noticed just a couple in the chat. We'll definitely answer those at the end of this session. But as your brain's stewing a little bit, I'm sure there'll be some more. And as we're transitioning over to Texas First Early High School Completion Program, just again, same thing. If you're a beginner, average experience, how much experience do you have with the Texas First program? And Suzanne will be sharing with us on that, but would love to see your responses in that just so we can gauge who our audiences. Again, we've got a lot of beginner, average. Awesome. All right. Suzanne, I will kick it to you.
Great, thank you so much. So we're here to talk about the Texas First Early High School Completion Program. Next slide. And a quick overview of the agenda. We'll go over the program, graduation requirements, required notification, and academic achievement record requirements. And then guidance we've been given both to school districts, institutions, and to students and families. And any questions I think we'll cover along with the other agenda items a little bit later. Next slide. So the Texas First Early High School Completion Program was established 2 sessions ago. And specifically in section 280253, these are live links. So if we do share this PowerPoint, you're able to go into each of these references. Next slide. So you'll hear various ways that we refer to this. So the Texas First Early High School Completion Program, I'm sure you see that as a very long title. So we've kind of shortened that to call it the Texas First Program. And the Texas First Program, it has 2 components. The first component is the Texas First Diploma. And then the second component is the Texas First Scholarship. So we'll talk about the diploma first. The statute did require the coordinating board in conjunction and collaboration with institutions of higher education to establish the eligibility requirements. And you'll see, again, these are all live links to those various components. Next slide. In this last legislative session, we had some amendments, and those amendments, first of all, extended the authority. So in the initial statute back 2 sessions ago in the 87th session, only 10 Texas public institutions of higher education were eligible to award the scholarship to the Texas First Diploma graduates. Well, this last session, Senate Bill 2294, opened up the ability to award the scholarship to all Texas public institutions of higher education, including community colleges, 4-year universities, the technical colleges, all Texas public institutions. And the other thing that was very important is the initial statute had the language that said a school district may allow eligible students who are interested in graduating early to graduate with the Texas First Diploma. This last session, and this is effective September 1, 2023, that language completely strengthened. So it went from may allow, which can be interpreted as permissive, to shall allow, which now makes it mandatory that a public school district or open enrollment charter allow a student who is interested in graduating early, and if that student meets those eligibility requirements, that student must be allowed to graduate with that Texas First Diploma. And it also codifies the method. So it puts in statute the method by which school districts have to verify a student's eligibility, because just like all high school completions, it's the school district that confers this particular high school diploma as well. Next slide. So the Texas First Scholarship also established, and we also had to adopt rules to implement this scholarship program. Next slide. And basically the stated purpose is to promote efficiency in the public education system and incentivize the enrollment of high-performing students to remain in Texas, right? That's why we call it Texas First. Consider Texas first before any other institutions outside of the state. Next slide. So originally, as I mentioned, prior to September 1, these 10 colleges listed here were the only ones that were able to issue, I should say, award the scholarship to those students who graduated with the diploma. Next slide. And then, like I said, after September 1, all Texas public institutions now have the authority to award the diploma to the Texas First graduates. So here's some graduation requirements. First of all, notice the 22 high school credits is a lot fewer than the foundation. And also, statute does not specify which credits. However, we know that because of some of the other eligibility requirements, we know most of these credits will actually mimic most of the credits that a typical Texas high school graduate has completed. A final grade point average of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. And of course, that is going to be an equivalent if many school districts do have a different scale. So that should just be equivalated. And then the next one would be earned an overall score at least in the 80th percentile on one or more of the following assessments. So the SAT, ACT, PSAT, MNSQT version, the TSIA or TSIA2. And in some cases, although albeit rare, it may even have a GED score. Or in lieu of that 80th percentile, if the student graduates in the top 10% of the student's current class, then that particular eligibility requirement is also met. STAR EOCs, notice there are only 3 STAR EOCs that are required for this diploma. It would be English 1 or English 2, Algebra 1, and Biology. And notice for this diploma, Algebra 2 is not a requirement. Next slide. The final sort of eligibility requirement is to demonstrate mastery in each of these 5 subject areas. Now, as you notice, especially if they've already met the 80th percentile on the SAT or ACT, students will have already met most of these by virtue of their 80th percentile score, if that's the route they chose. So ELA, likely they will have already met. Mathematics will have already met. Social studies through the ACT reading maybe will have already met. So there is a chart that shows all the different ways that the students can demonstrate mastery. The important thing about demonstrating mastery is mastery cannot be demonstrated through completion of high school courses. Even if it's a high school AP course, or if it's an honors course, that is not going to suffice for meeting mastery. Next slide. There's a chart that I'll refer to, but basically the way that they can meet mastery is by meeting the STAR college readiness benchmark. So that would be by meeting the 4,000 on an Algebra 2 or an English 3 STAR test. Now, remember, we said while those are not required as part of the eligibility, students may have already completed these back when they were still available. We understand that they were no longer offered, but some students may have taken these assessments in the past and may have scored. So we want to go ahead and keep that available for those students. The second way they can show mastery in those 5 subject areas is by earning credit in the core curriculum of an institution. So most of the time, what we're referring to in the second bullet is dual credit. The reason why we don't just write dual credit is because there are some courses, some college level courses that are offered through dual credit, but are not in the institution's core curriculum. So that's why it's a little bit higher of a level that course actually has to be in the core curriculum of the institution, and the student has to have earned at least a C. And then the next portion is this figure. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is the other ways that students can demonstrate mastery. Notice we've got listed on the left-hand side the various assessments. And then on the top row, you can see it's divided out by subject area. Most students, like I said, will have already met the English and the math and in some cases, even the social studies by virtue of having completed an ACT or an SAT test and meeting the requirements there. If you could go back just to the previous slide. So I just want to mention something on language other than English. It says world language or computer science. American Sign Language is also accepted for this, but this is the one I think that most students may have some difficulty or not quite as easily demonstrated as in the other subject areas. We do, that first row there talks about the SAT subject tests. We understand the subject tests are no longer administered, but again, just like the English 3 and Algebra 2, a student may have taken that subject test back when they were still available and may have met this particular benchmark. So we don't want to disinclude that opportunity for those students to be able to use that assessment if they did have an appropriate test listed here and have met the benchmark. And so again, we've got the ACT, PSAT, we've got the AP, CLEP, IB, TSIAs, and in some, again, albeit rare cases, perhaps a GED may also be available. The other thing that I wanted to say about the language other than English, again, I did say that an AP course does not count, but of course the AP test that most students will take at the end of having successfully completed a course or even completed a course. And then, by the way, AP also allows students to take an AP test without actually having completed the course. So that is also another option available. As far as the CLEP, we do not specify whether it's level 1 or 2. It could be with or without the writing. That's not specified either. Same thing with the computer science. There's, I think information systems is the name of the CLEP test. So all of that would be allowable. And if you have any specific questions on whether a specific AP or CLEP test is allowable to meet this, please feel free to email me. My contact information is provided at the end. Next slide. So again, the other component that's really important is students who graduate with the Texas First Diploma automatically are conferred with a distinguished level of achievement. And both the Texas First Diploma and the distinguished level of achievement needs to be documented on the student's academic achievement record. Next slide. Notification requirements. And so here you can see what the notifications requirements are. And that's specifically about the program and details about the scholarship. Next slide. And then here's the timeline. And this was, of course, provided by Texas Education Agency, by TEA. Next slide. The academic achievement record, the State Board of Education adopted a data element, and that will be available, that was available starting with the beginning of this school year. And so there is now the Texas First indicator in terms of the specific high school diploma. Next slide. So the guidance we've been given to students and families. As soon as the student and the family decides this is a diploma that I would like to graduate, I'm very interested in graduating with this diploma. First thing, of course, is to contact the admissions advisor where the student would like to attend and ask specifically for an advisor who works with early high school graduates or the Texas First Diploma, because there's going to be some specific details for early high school graduates that they're going to need to know. And then also inform the advisor when you want to graduate, what your intended major or meta major is, and any additional admission requirements, if any, in addition to the Texas First Diploma. So one thing to emphasize is when you graduate, when a student graduates with a Texas First Diploma, it does not guarantee admission. So the student will still need to navigate through the admissions process at the institution where they want to attend. So there may be some additional requirements by the institution that's not necessarily a requirement of the diploma, like completion of specific coursework. They may require completion of Algebra 2, for example, or a specific number of credits. So again, now, there may be a possibility if the student is working with the counselor in the second semester of the junior year or later, where the top 10% calculation comes in, where the student does qualify for automatic admissions if the student is within the top 10%. So again, that would need to be, the student would need to work with the counselor to see if that's an option as well. Next slide. And for school districts, of course, the number one thing is meeting the notification requirements. And we also ask students to consider, school districts to consider written protocols to ensure consistency. So steps for eligibility, if there are any deadlines, et cetera. And that is all part of the notification requirements. And so that every student who may potentially be interested has the same information. And then, of course, document and confirm the student's eligibility using a specific eligibility requirement form found in Texas OnCourse. and then to report the Texas First Diploma on the PEIMS and on the student's academic achievement record, of course, with a distinguished level of achievement. So what happens is once we receive this eligibility form that has been completed by the school district's counselor or other designated administrator, once we receive that form, usually within 5 business days, we will then turn around and send the scholarship certificate directly to the student. We will also send that scholarship certificate or the list of students who qualified to the institution that the student indicated where they wanted to attend. So there's 2 ways that that student will be able to notify the student directly with the scholarship information, and then we also notify the institution. And of course, the scholarship, in terms of what that is valued, if the student graduates 1 semester early, it's roughly equivalent to half of the Texas grant. So roughly, depending on cost of attendance, which varies, of course, according to the institution, but it could be roughly around $5,000. And then if the student graduates more than 1 semester early, it's the full year worth, which is roughly $12,000. That changes every year. And again, it is also very contingent upon the cost of attendance at that particular institution where the student is accepted. There is no other transaction except that once the student receives that scholarship certificate, they take that scholarship certificate to the financial aid office at the institution where they have been accepted and admitted. And then the institution, the staff at the financial aid office at the institution then will provide next steps for the student. Next slide.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was a lot of great information. And we just also wanted to just take a moment to share with you where you can find these eligibility confirmation forms on our website. And so we'll be sharing those links with you guys as well. Within these courses, the scholarship applications and the high school graduation plan, you'll be able to find both of those links for the 2023-2024 form as well as 2022-2023 form. And then we will share a little bit about our resources. You can definitely contact Suzanne. She has her information there, and we'll provide all of this information at the end as well as we're following up. And I will switch it over to Lauren.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, Suzanne and Farsa. This has been such a great webinar so far. And now we're going to talk about the student modules. So yes, this is the final student success tool that we're going to discuss today. And those are the student success modules that align with our middle school, college, and career readiness curriculum. Now, this curriculum, it's designed for middle school students, and it includes lesson plans, assessments, student handouts, activities, and so much more. Now, in order to access the student modules, first you need to actually download the curriculum. You can go to our website, texasencourse.org, and from there you can easily download the curriculum. So the College and Career Readiness curriculum is kind of like I said, a really fantastic resource for middle school educators who want to start teaching or maybe introducing your students to college and career topics. So there are 4 units within the curriculum, and they cover envisioning success, career pathways, post-secondary education readiness, and also getting ready for my next steps. Now, each of these units includes lesson plans, descriptions, and student activities that align with the TEKS. Now, these lessons can be incorporated in career success classes, economics classes, or implemented into a core class as needed. Now, this curriculum is designed for middle school students, but I think that some of these activities can be really useful for our high school students as well, who are starting to explore these topics. Now, each of those 4 units that I talked about have corresponding student modules. So in order to access the student modules, First, like I said, you just need to download that curriculum and then navigate to the scope and sequence. From there, you can link to the corresponding modules for each unit. So I have it outlined here on the screen. You can see the scope and sequence. You can see each of those units, and then you can see the link just right there underneath them that'll take you to the student modules that align with that unit. Now, all of the information in the curriculum and the student modules is very streamlined. The information is really designed to guide students through that process of starting to think about college. All of the content that we have in our curriculum and these student modules is very easy to navigate because we want it to be so that you can easily design a lesson that really fits your class. So let's take a look at what one of those student modules would look like. So this is examples from Unit 1, which is Envisioning Success. Now, there are all kinds of activities within these modules, and as you can see here, we have some fill-in-the-blank lessons and some brainstorming activities that students can do. So students can go through these modules at their own pace so that they really can absorb this information. And they are designed so that students can start learning about some of that vocabulary behind college and career planning, some of the different careers that are out there. Maybe they need to be introduced to them and kind of learn more about them so that they're just more prepared for when it comes time to actually making those decisions about where they want to go, what they want to do, and they know what that process looks like. So like we already said, there are 4 units, and each of those units have supporting student modules. So the units are Envisioning Success, Career Pathways, Post-secondary education readiness, and then that 4th unit is getting ready for my next steps. So there's lots of great activities and information in each one of those student modules that students can do so that they're just more informed and ready to go. Now, you guys know that we like to make it very easy for you to access all of our information. So we do send out an email after with all of this great information that we talked about today. But if you want to get access to these student modules in the curriculum right now, all you have to do is scan the QR code. It will take you directly to our website. You put in your information and you will have access to that curriculum and those student modules right now. You can send it out to some of the educators that you work with so that they can start incorporating them into their classes. I hope you enjoy these modules. I hope that your students do as well. It's a really great resource to just start talking about college and planning.
Thank you, Lauren, so much. And thank you, Suzanne and Farsit. So now we're going to open it up for questions and comments. So we'll go through some of the ones that we have already had provided here. If the student applying for the Texas First Diploma Program does not rank in the top 10% of the class, would like to use the SAT 80th percentile, should that be the 80th percentile at the state level or national level? This is from Marcia.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a very common question. And our response to that is it's up to the school district to determine which of those benchmarks they want to use. Most of the time, most school districts are using the national benchmark simply because it is part of the student score report. So the SAT score report tells not only the actual scale score, the raw score, but it also tells the student's percentile. So when we say at the 80th percentile, if the student has a percentile score between 80 and, well, it could theoretically go all the way up to 100%. So 80, 81, 82, all the way through 100%, then that would be meeting the qualification. Those of you who want to go through a state using the state benchmark, you would probably need to contact SAT to get whatever the scale is for that. And they should be able to provide that for Texas. So again, as part of your school district's protocols, you should make a determination which one would be the better that that fits your students and that you think is indicative of your school district. And again, make sure that protocol is in writing so that every counselor applies that fairly to every student who's interested. And again, we highly recommend to use the national benchmark simply because the national percentile benchmark, because again, it is easily accessible. It's right there on the student's score report.
Thank you. And then we have another one from Jeannie. Could a student who skipped a grade before high school but spent 4 years in high school qualify for Texas First Diploma?
That's a specific question I would probably need to run by our legal. I think it has to do with the number of credits that the student has earned. So if the student has earned at least at minimal 22 credits and they are graduating one semester or more than one semester early compared to their regular typical cohort, then they should be able to qualify, of course, and then meeting all the other eligibility requirements.
And then there was another question, I think you touched on this one already, from Katrina. Will TTU K through 12 count for mastery?
So the only thing that counts for mastery of those 5 required subject areas would be what's ever in figure 1 in that chart. So again, any sort of high school completion or a high school course, even if it's an honors course, would not count for mastery. And again, as far as the school district is any Texas public school district or open enrollment charter. Those are the 2 that are eligible to award the Texas First Diploma.
Now we have a question from Alicia. Just curious to see which schools districts have been successfully implementing this program.
When we first implemented, we actually thought maybe there would be around 5 students across the state who might be interested in graduating early. We were very pleasantly surprised to find out over 60 students graduated in that first cohort, graduated early. I think it was actually, if I recall correctly, 30 different school districts that had graduated these students. So you could see in some school districts there were multiple students, but yeah, this is, I think there were a lot of students, a lot more students than we initially had anticipated. So that was all good news. And I think based on the feedback we keep getting from the field, I think this is a very popular option for some academically advanced students.
Awesome, thank you. If anyone else has any other questions, if they want to pop in the Q&A or the chat, if I missed something, feel free to raise your hand. Of course, you guys can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And definitely all of these webinars are saved to our YouTube channel. So if you missed something, we're also going to be sending them out afterwards. So like I mentioned at the beginning, don't worry, you'll get the full recording as well as to be able to share with whoever else.
Andrea, can I just stop really quickly? I
course.
was actually answering a question from Misty in the question and answer box. It sounded like Skyward would not allow the PEAM submission to have a student have an endorsement that fell under the Texas First Diploma. So I had partially answered, it sounds like that's a Skyward or a PEAMS issue. And I just wanted to give Suzanne a moment to address this, or also maybe see if it's something we could contact TEA about, because I didn't want to give any incorrect information. I feel like it should be submitted with an endorsement or the option for one.
No, that's an excellent question. And we actually have a meeting. We're trying to collaborate right now with TEA staff to schedule a meeting within the next couple of weeks to address this question and some of the other questions. And then as soon as we, get an outcome and clarification, we'll certainly share that with the OnCourse team.
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. And we can also send that out to everybody that's registered for this webinar as part of our follow-up. We'll send follow-up anyway, but if we have some outstanding questions, we can share.
Definitely. Thank you, Laura. Are there any? Oh, there's one more from Selden. How many activity tiles are in the career cluster inventory? Is it based on the career-wise assessment? Parsa?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How many activity tiles are in the career cluster inventory? Is it based on the career-wise assessment?
Are we talking about the career quiz?
I believe so.
Okay. I'm not for sure. So we do typically have about 5 per page, but we have been working on redesigning and kind of updating our tools. Again, we didn't really focus on just the number. It also kind of depends on what you select. So we try to keep it as individualized as possible, but there's about 5 cards per page, but I'm not really for sure like how many pages you go through. It's more so, again, when you log in, we're just looking at how much time you might have to commit to the career quiz.
Thank you. Sheldon said he's got it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to any of us directly. We are going to be sending out the follow-up email, so you'll have our contact information in there, as well as the recording, the slide deck, and all of the resources that we talked about today. But moving forward, if you would like to continue this conversation, we have the November professional learning coffee chat coming up on the 28th. So we hope you can join us. And of course, give us any feedback that you guys have in the survey provided here. And one of the questions on there is, how will you incorporate these college and career readiness tools on your campus? We would really like to know that, as well as any other things that you'd like to provide, or any other information that you have questions about prior to the coffee chat, so that we can incorporate that and plan for that for you all. So thank you all so much for being with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.